Hey guys, it's Daniel from Daddy Daughter Gamer. Today I'm going to show you how to put together our Blinky Mine Kit. Hey, you got my handy dandy business card right here. You want to keep this in case you got a question. 3 batteries, 6 magnets, those are important. Some 3D printed parts, a little bag of electronic parts, and you got the little discs. Now, your kit will either come with these 3D printed ones, or laser cut acrylic, just depending on what I've got in stock because of the supply chain issues around the world. So the first thing I like to do is go ahead and start with the parts that take the longest, and that's just to glue in the magnets. Now what you want to do is, what I'll do is I'll put marks on the magnets for you. I just use a Sharpie for this. What you want to do is take some glue, and you want to take your belt mount piece right here. Put a little glue in there. I like to use this glue here. It's E6000, but you could use other kinds of glue. On the belt mount, the side with the black mark goes down, so you don't see the black mark on top. You just get them in there, push them down in the little slots, and there they are. You see there's no black mark, the black mark is down. So there you go. Now this is gonna need to sit out for several hours to dry. So while you're waiting, you could go ahead and do these other pieces as well. You just put a little glue in here. You want black side facing up or out. So you can see the black mark. That's the way you want this to be, or it will not stick if you get the polarity backwards. So just put them in, and they're gonna have to let them dry. All right, what we're gonna do next is open this little bag here with the electronic parts in it. Yeah, nice, it's gonna be fun. So I'm just gonna dump all that stuff out. You got some resistors in here, some switches, battery terminals, and LEDs. So what you wanna do first, if you have a magic marker, Sharpie, whatever, I like to make this easier for later. So what you want to do is bottom piece here, and you'll see that one of them is smaller than the other ones. It's directly, so I like to just put a little dot there. You'll always know how to get it aligned properly. And if you take the top pieces, you'll notice the same thing. One of the pieces is smaller. So I just go ahead and put a little black dot. Okay, now this is probably the trickiest part of this whole process is you got these little switches here. They're very tiny tack switches. Red side goes in like so. See? So usually what I'll do is on these little pieces, see I drew a line? That was a little dot. And on this side here is where I'm gonna put a dot on this side. The reason you want to do it on that side is so you can put the switch in properly. See how one part right here is the red part? Your little click. That needs to go in. Red part goes in where the black dot is, you see? See how that goes in, slides in like that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the switch. Red side goes to the black dot side, like so. Okay, you want to press this in to the point where you can see the little holes in the switch are just barely above this top piece right here, like so, you see? And turn it upside down. So what you want to do is make sure that when you put this down flat, on a flat surface, it doesn't trigger the switch. You don't want it to trigger the switch until it's placed right here. See that little nub sticks out? So that's what you want. So that's what you're looking for right there. When you've got it like that, I recommend that you use some glue. I do not recommend using super glue for this because super glue has a tendency to kind of wick. And what happens is it'll wick up on the underside and get stuck inside the switch and ruin the switch. So I would avoid doing that. I've built hundreds of these things. I know what I'm talking about. So go ahead and do that, the same thing for the other pieces. All right, now all three of these things are done. They're going to have to sit out for a while and cure. That means the glue needs to dry and set properly before you try to go and solder anything. But what you can do while you're still waiting, if you want to, is you can go ahead and grab your battery terminals. Now, another thing I use a Sharpie for is, if you'll notice on these terminals right here, you see this little wedge? I just go ahead and color that in black. That's the positive side. And I just do that just to make it easier on myself, because if you wire this thing up backwards, it won't work. And that can be very frustrating. So I just go ahead and mark it black. So what you want to do is you take your battery terminal after you've gone ahead and marked which side is positive. And you see these little metal pieces at the end. You just want to bend them up. You can use a little screwdriver, or I happen to be using some tweezers. Or you can stick them on your table and fold it over. Just want to fold them up so they just kind of get out of the way. And then you want to take your piece, and the black side that you marked on your mounting part and your battery terminal goes together after you put a little dab of glue on there. And then you just center it, and then you're going to have to let this sit out and dry for several hours and make sure it's completely set before you move on to the next step, or you're just going to ruin your project if you get impatient. So, all right, now that this is good and dry, you can take a look at it and see. The pieces are nice and set. They're not coming off. You place it on the mounting point. Hear that? That's how you know it works, because it's clicking in place when it gets to the right position. Let's go and check all three of them. You hear that clicking sound, you know it's good. All right, next thing you want to do is get out your soldering iron, get that nice and hot. Get your 3 resistors and 3 LEDs, and we'll get started. Now, I like to use a extractor fan, so you can probably hear that in the background. I recommend doing that, or else just making sure you're in a well-ventilated area. All right, first thing I like to do is I like to take one of the resistors and bend the lead in half. Doesn't matter which side you use. And I just kind of twist it over like so, like that. And you want to insert that into the negative terminal, this side, the side that you didn't mark with the black marker. It helps to stick it in there if you just kind of push this little thing down like so. It gives this little space to sort of slot in there while you solder it. Break out your soldering iron and solder and tack that in. Now that's soldered in. I'm going to go ahead and do that with the other 2. All right, now that you've got them all tacked in, you want to go ahead and sort of move the resistor around so it's kind of out of the way, but so that it doesn't cross this little border here and prevent you from putting the other piece on top. And you take this other side and wrap it around the pole, solder that on, and then just clip off the excess. All right, now we got all 3 of these done. It's time to move over to the LEDs. All right, you see you got a long side and a short side of the LED. Go ahead and take the short side and bend it out like so. I go ahead and I do that on all 3 of the LEDs, just to make sure that I don't get confused and solder this on backwards, because if you do that, it won't work. Now that you move the LED and you bent it over like this, go ahead and take this and clip it down to where it's about, what is that? 1/4 of an inch away from the base, so that the LED just sticks out about 1/4 of an inch, or maybe like 8 or 9 millimeters. You go ahead and do that on all 3 of the LEDs. All right, now that they're trimmed down, we can go ahead and start installing the LEDs into the positive side, or the side that you marked with the magic marker or Sharpie or whatever you had. Go ahead and take these terminals and push them down. That way the lead for the LED can just kind of stick in there and not wobble around too much while you're trying to solder it down. Go ahead and put it in. You might need to bend it over like this just so it sits in place. And go ahead and solder it down. All set. Now let's do that for the other 3. All right, now that you got all 3 of them soldered down, you go ahead and take it, straighten it up a little bit, fold this other lead of the LED down like so. and you want to twist that around. Sometimes you need to use a pair of tweezers or pliers or whatever. Twist that around the other side of the lead like so, and go ahead and solder that down. And then you want to trim off the excess so it's not in the way. And there you go. You're going to go ahead and repeat this process for the other two. All right, now that all three of them are done, we don't need to solder anymore. Now we're going to take our batteries and put them in, make sure everything works. You take your battery, slide it in, and you see the light is blinking. If we depress the switch on the back, the light stops. So what happens when you put this on the mounting plate, it stops blinking. And when you take it off and you put it on something, it sticks there and blinks away. Now you see all three of them are blinking. All right, now what you want to do is you want to take your top pieces and your inserts. And like I said, this will either come with these 3D printed ones or acrylic, depending on if we have access to them. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So what you sometimes will need to do is just put a little bit of glue down here. You don't need much. You may not need it at all, depending. Yeah, just gonna stick in there. It's gonna, that'll dry and it'll be nice and secure. Ta-da. All right, now what you want to do is take your Blinky piece, and what I'll do is just kind of bend over the LED just a tad bit, like so. It will accommodate the LED if it's straight up. It just kind of looks better when it's blinking. If it's sort of out to the side, it's a little bit more even fill. Now this is one reason why it's good to go ahead and mark the little dots on the small piece, because then it makes it really easy to know how to put it in so that it stays in the right place and everything is nice and uniform. So here we go. There's the Blinky mine. And it's on our little mount piece. It's all done. Go ahead and do that with the other two. There you go. Now you're all finished. Should you ever need to replace the batteries, what you want to do is you want to slide a thin piece of metal in between these 2 points here and just sort of slowly pry it apart. You could use something like a butter knife or something. You don't want to use something that's not real sharp, maybe a small screwdriver, because you don't want to cut yourself. Just something that you can kind of slide in there around these little corners here and slowly pry it up so you can get in there. All right, well, we're all done. I hope that makes it easy for you to finish this little DIY project kit that we offer. If you want to get your own, visit our website at novaprops.com. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a big thumbs up, maybe leave a comment below, and definitely subscribe to the channel. Bye.